It is standard practice when producing landscape designs using CAD software to put details of shrub or tree planting, and here there's some good examples of it. If I select this area here of tree planting detail, notice in the properties box that's a very well named block called tree in poorly drained soil, and if we come over here, this is equally well dealt with shrub on modified soil, and they all work very well. And there are a number of blocks including detail of how to plant timber screen with vine detail, but I wanted to draw your attention to this one here. If we pick it, it's called pool fence detail, and you can be caught just a little when creating blocks such as this. If I change my view and background color to black and zoom out just a little, can you see the details that we were just looking at look fine, but this one has a problem. We're not seeing information that's in it. Now remember, it's a block, so if I just do a crossing window across there, it's there, but we just can't see it. So that block needs just a little attention. And so select it and edit the block. I'm going to change back to a white color, and now we see all the information there. So if we select, say, the pole here, it's color 250, and let's pick one of these parts that shows properly. This is color by layer, and it's on a layer called levels. So it can get just a little complex. Let's go back to our view with a black background. The ones that are showing clearly are this one here, which is color by layer. This one's not showing clearly, it's color 250. So I imagine that if I select everything, and the safest way to do that is to say tools and selection, select all, and we'll just change the color just for the moment, see how it goes, to by layer, and then close the block editor. Now we can see everything in the detail, and if we change our view to a white background, that looks fine, and view background color black, so that also looks fine. So just a small tweak in that detail, not in the others, but in that detail it worked well. I'd like to point out that this linear dimension here, and let's edit the block now and come in on that same area. Can you see that the takeoff points, one's down here and the other in the center of the hole? The linear dimension has an override, minimum of 100 millimeters, so it's a diagrammatic representation of it. But to my mind, it's just a little confusing, and what I'm going to demonstrate is that if we turn ortho on and polar off, we can pick that dimension, and I can move this handle up, won't shift anything, but I'm just moving it up. Notice how OSNAP's running and it's trying to find a nearest option, but I won't just want to do that. So to me, that makes things look just a little clearer. I think you would leave that other end of the dimension as is. So a small tweak helps things a little, I think. This one worries me just slightly. See, it's a dimension in a style called detail specs, and it's a bit confusing because the dimension itself crosses the view on the right. So I'd be inclined to move it across here and put it nearer where we want it. Whoops, that was the wrong thing to move, wasn't it? We need to move here and do that. But see it's still too long, so don't forget that you can jump in to the contents, and we could make it minimum 12, and then after 12 millimeters hit that, and then delete there, whoops, wrong again, and come before the T and just backspace and OK that. So now I should be able to move that in there, and that fits quite nicely. This is the one I now need to move, one on the left hand side. So now I've labelled that correct, and I'd probably be inclined, although it would mess up things just a little in the presentation of this one, I'd just be inclined to move that off to the right just a little. So there we are, and if I now close the block editor and zoom out, we've just made things work a little better. And the same thing applies up in here. That same block there needs a little bit of attention. It's fine when we go to background color of white and everything shows, but you just need to be aware of the effect of color. So if you apply color 250 to a detail and you're on a black background, then things are going to be invisible. It's just something to be aware of. Not really a big problem, because in layout space your background is always white anyway. But just some little tiny hints about using details.